So I want to start the podcast completely randomly, not related at all to the movie, basically like how I felt when this comment came through.
Okay.
Okay. So we got a comment on our videos on YouTube, which I'm guessing you're still posting our podcast on YouTube.
I just posted how you had the default settings.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've never fixed it. So we don't actually look at the YouTube. I didn't know it was actually still going. I don't even go to that channel anymore, so that's fun. But I guess it's still connected to my phone. So I received a notification that we got a comment. It was on episode 55. What episode are we on now? This was before we did seasons, so that must have been...
No, because every year is a season, so it's 52 episodes a year. So that had to have been episode...
Yeah, but don't we normally restart to number 1, or do we not? Or do we just do, like, season 2, episode 78, even though it's not... What?
So I title it season and then the number in the season, but I don't know if YouTube does.
Oh, okay. All right, so it says episode 55, so that's, like, after a year, right? Yep. This was the first episode, and one of the only, that we had a guest on.
Yes.
Yeah, so I actually really liked this episode. It was about content that I really enjoy talking about, and I had really a good time doing it. So if you guys haven't listened to this podcast episode, it is about The Secretary. It's a 2002 movie. It's a interesting movie.
It's a bit of a risque movie, so do not watch with your family.
Yeah.
Or church group. This is not the movie.
But the episode was really good, and the interview that we had was actually really interesting. So definitely listen to it. But our comment that we got was, the person's name was something brutal. It's a man with a very epic beard, if you wanted to know. And it says...
Wow, you're just throwing that right in my face a little bit.
I can only see part of their face, but yes. Oh. It says, I think it's the first time he has had a BDSM relationship with one of his secretaries. They're talking about the main character of the movie. The others left because he is a really hard to work for, you think. He's just as broken as she is, which in a way is why they work, and I got the feeling he was in a submissive relationship with his ex-wife. When this movie was made, I doubt it would have been illegal to ask if a woman was going to get pregnant. So we must have stated somewhere in the podcast. Now, granted, this is now 2 years ago, so I don't remember.
It was the interview when she was applying for the job. He says, "Are you going to get pregnant and leave me?"
And we must have said something about, like, that has to be illegal to ask or something like that.
It was definitely illegal then, and it's still illegal.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that it would have been illegal to ask that question. As for him being in a submissive relationship with his ex-wife, now, again, 2 years ago, so I don't fully remember the movie, but I find it hard to believe he was a submissive before. I have a feeling that maybe he felt inferior to his ex-wife, but you don't go from being a submissive to a dom. Like, that's not how any of this works. Like, you are what you are. It's like you're straight or you're gay. Like, you don't choose that. You are what you are. So I mean,
but different circumstances allow you to do different things. So
you can be both. Like, I mean, just like you can be bisexual, like you can be both. You can enjoy both things, but he seemed like a dominant.
All right, we're talking about a 2-year-old movie on the podcast. Can we please get back to the movie at hand?
Well, it's an interesting thing to think about.
It's a whole 5 minutes into the podcast, and we haven't gotten to the movie.
So sorry. Anyways, so this week's movie was an audience choice-ish movie.
It was another Discord recommend.
Yeah, so it was your choice, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you chose?
I chose The House. I chose this for our lovely Discord member, Bite, and he said it was one of the last movies that made him laugh, so we wanted a lighthearted movie after the kind of serious movies we've been doing, and so we needed a palate cleanser.
Yes. Unfortunately, this palate cleanser does not give us a ton to talk about, so I think it's going to be a pretty short episode. I think it's going to be pretty short, but
You say that every time, and then it's an hour and a half long.
Okay, so before we get into the movie, do you want to tell us what beer you chose for this week?
So I have Drink at Home, which is both pandemic and movie appropriate. It's from Night Shift Brewing. I've had a couple of theirs. This is a New England Pale Ale, which I don't think I'm going to like, but there was not a whole lot of choice. There were no choices for casino beers. Really disappointed on that. And then this is the closest I can get.
Oh, let's see what we got.
That is damn good crack.
That is a good crack.
Yeah, that's not great. It's definitely piney.
Oh, no, I don't
Yeah.
like the smell. I do not like the smell.
It's definitely drinking the pine tree.
Okay. Well, anyways, moving forward. Do you want to give us a brief synopsis of what the movie was?
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
Married couple sending their kid off to college, don't have the money. They were banking on a scholarship that fell through, so they start an illegal underground casino in their neighbor's house, who is a degenerate gambler, and that's the movie.
Yeah, essentially. Okay, so lead characters are Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. Will Ferrell plays Will Ferrell. He is Will Ferrell. So he plays the dorky guy who also has this like hardcore side of him, but he's basically a dad. So like it's like what a dad would be hardcore.
So it's been a weird thing because he didn't always start off as that kind of character.
It's probably come with age, right?
Well, it's come with age. I think he's softened his image with Elf and a couple things because that was one of his best movies ever.
Yeah.
And he's been going in appealing to younger audiences and being more kid and parent friendly, I think, because old school, not a kid movie.
I don't know that I've seen that. I'm not sure.
I mean, you'd hate it. It's drunk college debauchery with a lot of nudity.
What are you trying to say?
Well, it's
rude. You don't know. You don't know me. You don't know my life.
Regardless. So, I mean, he's fine. Will Ferrell's a talented actor. I mean, we just watched Downhill and he was the best actor in that whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, I will say that when you go into this movie, if you don't like Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler, you probably won't like this movie.
Oh, you're going to hate it. Hate it.
They are the movie. They carry the movie. They are the movie.
Do they carry the movie? We will get to that.
We will get to that. But their personalities and their type of humor, you really do need to enjoy. Amy Poehler plays the mother.
Yep.
She plays, again, Amy Poehler. Like, she's the mother who's also, like, thinks she was a badass when she was younger. She smoked pot. She likes to talk about peeing in the yard and then reprises that later in the movie and actually does it with her daughter in the house. Strange. But you know, the type of, she's from Saturday Night Live, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that type of humor. Exactly.
I mean, she's also on Parks and Rec, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, but I have not seen Parks and Rec.
Shame. It's a great show.
I wanted to see it, but I looked it up. I think it was on Netflix at one point, and the amount of episodes was daunting for me.
There are a lot of episodes, but it's great. It's got Chris Pratt in it. He's fun.
He's the least of the Chris's, but we'll get into that another day. I will mention, and I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm sorry right now. Jason Mantzoukas.
Mantzoukas?
I have no idea how to say his name. I've never actually heard it said out loud, so... but we know him from Sleeping with Other People.
Which we've covered for the podcast.
And I believe you said Brooklyn Nine-Nine, although, again, not seen it.
Yes. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he's a offshoot character. He's not one of the main characters, but he's a regularly appearing side character.
Well, so he's the friend who has a gambling addiction.
Place.
Oh, The Good Place. Yeah, that too. So he has a gambling addiction. He he's the one who comes up with the idea to open this casino in his home. He's wonderful. Like I like him.
This is by far and away the best performance in the whole movie.
And his type of humor is my type of humor. Like I enjoy him more than the main characters, but I think that's just because of the humor lines up.
Also, before we get further, I have to backtrack to Amy Poehler.
Ooh.
Because she is my Lord of the Rings reference. She was in the Drunk History series with Elijah Wood, who was Frodo Baggins from Lord of the Rings.
So proud of you for doing that. Okay, so there's a lot of like characters that you would know in this movie. Like there's a lot of like people you're gonna like see and be like, oh wow. Like I mean, one of the cameos is Jeremy Renner, who is, I believe, Hawkeye. I mean, could be totally wrong there.
Yes, he is. He's in a number of other movies.
Yes.
Wasn't he in Arrival that we've covered for the podcast, I believe?
Was he? I don't know. I would have to...
It was Amy Adams and somebody. I don't remember. It was Forrest Whitaker.
He may be. Hold on, my phone's taking a very long time to load. I don't see Arrival on a quick glance here. Oh, yep, there it is. Arrival. So you're right. He was. A weird coincidence, which nobody will know except for me because I watch weird things. But Lennon Parnham, which was one of the girls who did the Fight Club, right?
Okay.
So she was actually in 2 TV shows with another person in this movie. They were both lead characters in like the focus of the TV shows. Like they play perfectly together. I don't know if they're best friends in real life or what the deal is, but they were in Best Friends was the name of the first TV show, and then that show got canceled, and so then they played Playing House, which that show also got canceled after 2 years. Wonderful shows. I love both of them in those movies, but I just don't understand why they're always together, but that they are. The other person is Jessica St. Clair, which we also saw in a TV show with, it had to do with the government. It was supposed to be funny. It was making fun of like the Trump administration. We watched it. I want to say Steve Carell was in it.
Space Force?
Yes, she's in that as well.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know why I know these things. Like I have no idea. But anyways, is there anybody else you need to mention? Because I do need to do my Gilmore Girls reference.
We have to do the Gilmore Girls mention. You did bring up the Trump administration, and the executive producer is someone from that administration.
Yeah, that's weird.
The most punchable face in maybe human history, Steve Mnuchin,
is the executive producer of this movie.
He just really, with that face, needs to get punched right in the mouth.
But how often do you hear that a member, a secretary of anything...
Secretary of the Treasury.
Well, I was just going to say, of anything in the government is also an executive producer for a movie. Like, how often do those 2 things collide? Because I feel like it has to be... Yeah, I feel like it had to be minimal. Okay, so my Gilmore Girls reference, which I just kind of saw in the movie. I pretty much screamed out, that's my reference. Linda Porter, she was just like an old lady crossing the street and whatever. Was Fran from Gilmore Girls, and just it just stood out like
la-di-da.
Yeah, so it was thank you. So is there anybody else you want to mention? Again, you will know a lot of people in this movie, but I don't want to give them all away.
I mean, there's the rest of the characters are just extra characters. They're just fill in for the movie. Like it's just you could replace them with anyone.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so this movie, when you first told me about this movie, you were comparing it to Stealing Harvard, which I don't even know what it is. So do you want to compare it now that you've seen it?
So it's a similar. It's the horrifying thing of not being able to figure out how to pay for college.
Yeah, which is a terrifying whole situation. We've all been there, right? I mean,
most of us have been in that whole. Well, I'm going to have to be in debt for my entire rest of my natural life.
I mean, I didn't have a situation where my parents went to a whole mental breakdown and decided that they needed to pay for it in its entirety. Mean, I wish.
Oh, that would have been great. I mean, my parents weren't in that position either.
That's not really realistic, is it?
No.
I mean, for parents to be able to cover that?
I think my parents are on the hook as co-signers for probably millions of dollars in student loans at this point.
That's, more power to them, but that's just makes me sick to my stomach to think about. But, so these parents, they went through all the normal ways of doing it. So they were supposed to get a scholarship, and the scholarship got taken away from them in the crappiest way. This town guy was like, hey, so we're just not going to do it because we want to get a pool, and then made the town vote on whether or not they'd rather swim or give the money to a singular family and have everybody else suffer and not be able to swim, is basically how he worded it. So
that's very, very clearly asking a question that you already know the answer to.
Well, you framed the question in a way that is only going to be answered one way. He's manipulative as crap.
Well, I don't even know if it was necessarily for the pool. I think the pool was an excuse to raise taxes so that he could embezzle and steal more money.
Oh, yeah. He was burying his embezzlement is what he was doing. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so they were looking for a way to do that. They did try to get loans. They were denied. They did everything they could. They thought they had $401,000 in the bank, but it ended up being a 401k, which I found amusing. Because I feel like that's something that somebody would get confused about.
I can tell you that without a doubt, that is something that I am sure has happened at some point.
It
says I have 401,000. No, it doesn't.
I mean, people write out 401k as like 401,000, so I could totally understand.
There are so many very just face-palming questions that you can expect from the
people when it comes to money. Yeah,
it's astounding.
But so was stealing Harvard the same in that it was like looking for a way to pay for the child student loans?
It was very similar. I think it was not necessarily a kid, but it was more. If I remember, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. I think it was like a best friend said, "If you get into Harvard, I'm going to figure out a way to pay for it," and they have to find a way to steal.
So they stole it,
or get back into. But there was something related to that. I don't really remember.
We may have to watch the movie at some point so that we can.
I could be way off. It's been probably 15 years.
Yeah, can you guys like come back and be like, it's not even about the college. It was about like some town named Harvard or some crap. Like that would just.
No, it's definitely about Harvard College. I just don't exactly know what it relates to.
Okay. Well, anyway, so, I can't compare it to Stealing Harvard because I've never seen it. But if you guys can and you know anything about it, let me know. And if you think
please tell me if I'm way off base in my memory of this movie.
Yeah, and also if you want us to watch it, let us know if it's something worth watching. But the list is so long, guys.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so one of the complaints online was that fact and then complaint, right? So this is Will Ferrell's lowest grossing studio film. And people were complaining that Will Ferrell has basically gone down the road of Adam Sandler in that he's kind of doing these really corny, safe roles. And it's kind of just, we all know what people think of Adam Sandler movies right now.
Well, I think at this point, Adam Sandler doesn't care. He has so much money that he basically decides to shoot all of his movies in Hawaii and go on a free vacation.
Yeah, and I mean, good for him. Like
totally would applaud that thought process.
And also, I don't feel I'm any better. Like, I don't feel like I could, do better than Adam Sandler. So, I'm not judging. Like, no. It might not be films that I'd necessarily sit down and watch because there's a lot of films, and so...
And some of them are objectively terrible. His earlier works are wonderful and nostalgic, and I'm not going to touch that. Same for Will Ferrell. But...
See, so this is where I'm conflicted. So Will Ferrell, I never really liked, right? I did not like Talladega Nights. I did not like, what was it, Ricky Bobby or whatever it was.
That's Talladega Nights, Ron Burgundy.
No, there was another movie. It was a Ricky Bobby something. He's on a stage or whatever. It's a different movie.
Sure.
Anyways, Ron Burgundy I didn't mind actually because I really like was it Christina Applegate that was in that movie?
Yes.
So didn't mind
and
that.
Paul Rudd and then Vince Vaughn.
Who doesn't love Paul Rudd?
It was a great cast.
Right. So didn't mind that one. But for the most part, I kind of avoided Will Ferrell movies because he was too much. He was obnoxious. He was over the top. But then I saw Stranger Than Fiction and I was like, okay, you know what? I actually can give him a chance. He's actually all right. He's a good actor.
I mean, Elf is so far and away my favorite Will Ferrell performance.
Yeah.
How do you not?
It took me forever to see Elf, though, because I didn't like
How do you not watch that movie and go, yep, that's it?
Right. But I'm kind of more a fan of the subdued Will Ferrell. I'm not super into that obnoxious, over-the-top slapstick comedy.
I think that if he had taken the character from Downhill, and it was actually a funny movie, with actual comedic elements going, then, yeah, that would have been great. But it was just kind of a tough slog.
Yeah, I mean, I
mean, a little bit more of the serious humor, but still funny, would have been great.
Right.
Kind of like Shaun of the Dead. It would have been just towing that magic line between serious and funny.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, I would like to see him in some serious roles, though. Adam Sandler just recently did a serious role movie. It had to do with stealing gems or something.
Uncut Gems.
I really want to see it. I have no idea if it's good or bad. I mean, I've heard nothing.
It did get panned, I believe. People didn't like it, but I'd still
do we trust people, though?
No.
I mean, okay, so I'm interested to see it. I want to see how he does. And I would be interested to see Will Ferrell in an actual serious role, not a meant to be a comedy that ended
Vince
up being
Vaughn
serious.
in Psycho serious role?
I thought he was great in Psycho.
Or Robin Williams in...
never saw it. I already know I've never seen it.
It was Insomnia, where he's a serious serial killer. And
I would like to see that.
He does the creepy very well.
Right, and I would like to see Will Ferrell. So, I'm interested. But anyway, so that's a big complaint. But that didn't bother you in this, right?
No, I mean... that's not the issue that I have with this movie. The movie is just, there's nothing there. There's just, it's...
Is that an issue, though? I mean, sometimes you just want a movie to just chill out, right?
That isn't entirely fair. It's all mindset. So if you're sitting down to actually have a sit-down movie night, this might not be the best. If you just want to space out and watch a lighthearted comedy movie that is moderately funny, this is a great choice for that.
Okay, fine. So this movie, basically the premise is what they do is they end up setting up a casino in the home and having to get all these people in, and they're trying to make $50,000 in a month, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, my question, I guess, for you would be, if you had to make $50,000 in a month, is this what you would choose to do, or is there something different that you would go about doing?
I mean, it's certainly not a bad way to go.
I mean, other than being illegal.
Well, of the choices to make $50,000 legitimately in a month, there's not a whole lot of choices.
I mean,
selling your house, your car, and other things, yeah, you could do it.
You could get an OnlyFans. You could probably get $50,000.
Me? No, I could not.
You just whip out some body parts.
I mean, I would tend to believe that our listeners, and especially, would pay me not to do that.
You'd get $50,000 in a day.
Extortion. You pay me $100 right now, or you see everything.
I will show it. Don't make me.
You pay me $5,000, or I show up at your house.
No. What you have to do is you have to threaten to go in like Star Trek lingerie or something. They would pay not to see that.
I would ruin any movie fandom that you have by wearing something inappropriate if you paid me not to do it.
R2-D2 boxers that have like the moving.
So I would totally get paid not to. But
yeah. So I mean, that's a great way.
I mean, this is about as non-hurtful as you can be. Like, you're not hurting anyone for money. You're not killing them.
I mean, they didn't happen to cut a finger off or anything. I mean, that didn't happen.
Okay, but they didn't intend to cut off a person's finger.
Well, then he became the butcher, so...
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's just Gator don't take no shit.
Yeah, it literally is.
It's 100% Gator don't take no shit.
We literally screamed that in the middle of the movie,
yeah.
So yeah. So I've been trying to think of what I would do to make $50,000 because, like, let's be honest, guys, I will not jaywalk. I don't break laws. So like, I really, as much as I like to pretend like I could do this, I know that I couldn't. I would assume that a cop was coming the minute a first person came in the door. So I feel
it's better than selling drugs.
It is better than selling drugs because then at least I don't feel like I'm harming anybody.
I mean, so you are taking people's money, and if they have a legitimate gambling addiction, then you can seriously hurt them, like their friend who didn't gamble.
Right, but like you're not causing a potential like death from something you have handed them. So I feel.
I mean, with the amount of blood he lost in his middle finger, he definitely would have bled out. And they did kill Jeremy Renner. Spoilers.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes, this is fair, but I don't know like what I could do to make $50,000 that quickly. I keep going over and over in my head, and I know like Bitcoin and NFTs now and all this kind of stuff is probably what a lot of people would choose, but I feel like that's too risky for me. Like I can't think of like a safe bet that I could make $50,000 like that.
I mean, securities fraud, but you'll get sent to prison.
That's against the law, though.
So is an underground casino.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't break the law, so I feel like my kid would just be SOL.
No, you'd have to start selling things like stuff in your house. Like, sell computers.
I don't own anything. The only thing I own that might be worth $50,000, which I've lost, sadly, would be my first edition Emily Dickinson book.
I mean, you could sell that. You could sell computers, the TV, the couch.
Can I sell you? I mean, would that be worth $50,000 or?
I don't think you.
Humans, no. I mean, because there's nothing valuable in this.
That's been illegal since 1865, darling.
Thank
you very much.
I mean, like, does anybody need a husband that like does things for them? Because I don't have anything else of value. I have a car, but that's not even worth $50,000.
No,
like
the house itself is you could get $50,000 for it.
Maybe it's like not a great house. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like my kid would be SOL. Like poor thing, but I can't break the law, so I guess like there you are. Anyways, so I mean, my other question with this whole situation is so. The friend that sets this up is going through a divorce, and they kind of allude, or they don't allude, they say that the reason that he's getting divorced is because he's got a gambling addiction and he has a porn addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, addictions are bad, right? I mean, porn addiction, is what it is. Every man has one, right?
I don't know if everyone has an addiction to the point where you can't stop compulsively watching porn at inappropriate times.
Okay, fair. But, I mean, most guys watch porn. Like, that's...
But that's not an addiction. That's just watching something. You can watch a football game and not be addicted to football. You can watch television and not be addicted to television.
I mean, but you're addicted to football and you're addicted to video games. Like, okay. Guys have addictions, and that's okay. I mean, a lot of females have addictions. We all have... I'm not an addictive person, so I don't, but...
Like, watching that kind of stuff at your daughter's christening or something, where it's horrifyingly inappropriate and you're in the back, yeah, addiction.
Yeah.
But that's different.
Okay, but anyway, so they're going through a divorce, and I think at the beginning they're just separated, and then it progresses. But they know this. The friends know this, that the reason is because of his addiction problem, and he's basically saying, like, hey, let's use my addiction to make money. And they go along with it. They're like, okay,
well,
yeah,
they
cool.
also almost had the money at the start of this movie. That would have been a short movie if they had just taken the money in Vegas.
Oh, that they won, and then he was like, don't throw a 7 or whatever.
Okay.
Like, why would
How do you not take your money off of the table?
It doesn't make any sense.
For the love of God. You don't have to pay all 4 years of college at the same time. You have a whole year to figure out the next college payment at that point.
One step at a time, people.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you think that's a good friend to know that he has an addiction problem, gambling is what killed his marriage, and then be like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to open up a casino with you.
I mean, it does show his strength and resolve to not gamble because he's in a place where he could be gambling all of the time.
Okay, hold on.
So devil's advocate, they're showing the separated wife that he has changed because he is in this, but he is not involved in gambling.
Oh, okay. But is he really not gambling? Like, no, he's not the one at the table. But he is gambling in that he is putting his money into something like this. He's buying all of these, like, all these extra stuff for the
he's
pool.
The house, and the house always wins, so he is gambling by being the house, I guess.
Yes.
But he's winning.
It's illegal. He's winning, yes, but he doesn't know that he's going to win. Somebody could get him clean if they, I guess, counted cards like they saw. Like, there are things. So, is he not gambling? Like, he's got better odds, but is he not gambling?
I think that's probably fair. And from that perspective, they're not really great friends. They're prioritizing their daughter more than their friend.
Which you do, right? You prioritize your kids over yourself. So,
yes, but also there has to be a different route. There has to be a different way to do it.
Yeah. They could have also stolen his idea and just not invited him. That's mean, but they could have done that. At least it would have protected him.
It's just, I don't know. Well, they have a bigger problem than that. Which is, what are they going to do with all that cash?
What do you mean? Put it in a bank.
You can't.
You can little by little.
I will get to that as part of my history minute, but they have a very big problem. You have a lifetime supply of groceries and small bills. Paid. Cash.
Yeah, although the cop didn't care. So, but anyway, still staying on the topic of the friend, Raina. So Raina is the wife, and she says she's leaving him because of his gambling problem and his porn addiction. But she ends up kind of getting with a new person, like, right away. We're to assume this is all within a summer, so it's within the same summer, so there's only a few months there. So what do we think of her? And then also, like, the scene where he passes the shop and he's like whistling to her or whatever he's doing to get her attention.
Screaming.
He's so freaking funny. But then she comes out and she's like, you look really good, but, like, never mind, like, don't worry about that, but you look good.
And she just can't even help herself. We've all had that kind of experience where there's that person that you can't be around for any length of time because you just melt.
Well, right, and you can see that. That's what that is. So, but what do you think of her? Like, do you think she's right in what she's doing? Do you think she's a good person? Like, I mean, what do you think of her?
I mean, I think she's an upstanding person that just has a bad track record with men, and that man specifically. And then it all works out because their house burns down. Yeah,
and they decide to commit
insurance fraud.
So, great.
That's another way to make $50,000 in a month. Insurance fraud.
Yeah, why didn't we think of that? Gee, that one's not illegal. Of course not, right?
I mean, these things are only illegal if you get caught, I suppose.
I mean, I guess. But actually, she bugged me a lot. I felt like, marriage is for better or for worse. I mean, first of all, you can't tell me that she didn't see inklings of any of his addictions up front. These addictions don't usually come out of nowhere. It's possible, but they generally don't come out of nowhere.
I mean, that's fair, but sometimes addiction goes to the point where you are all out of time to give the other person a shot because you have tried so many other times before.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was with an alcoholic. I very much know that it gets to a point where there's nothing else you can do. But generally, when you do get to that point, you don't get to that point and decide, like, I'm going to go date somebody else tomorrow. Like, you get to that point and realize, like, you care enough about that person that you can no longer enable them and you walk away. But you don't just move on to someone else.
To be fair, we don't know if she was dating the person or she was just getting hit on at a bar.
Oh, no. Don't be silly. She was dating that man. That man had a man bun and she was all up in that.
Why? What is it about the man bun? Like, why is that special?
I mean, have you seen the TikTok with the guy with the floofy hair and then he does the whatever transition and he puts his man bun and is just a god? That's what the man bun is. It makes you a god.
It makes you a god.
Yeah.
So I have to grow out my hair then.
I don't know how your hair would look in a man bun. I've never seen it long, so I'm not really sure.
It was not good.
I can't imagine how it would grow.
It grows curly.
Let's focus on the beard.
Wavy.
Let's.
I am slowly but surely growing it back out. I have made a terrible mistake and cut it too short, and it's coming back.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
It's getting back to normal.
But anyway, so I am a little on her, but okay, you don't mind her. So you wanted to talk about the town. So the town is called Fox Meadow, and you said that it represented something, and you wanted to discuss that.
It represents the dysfunction in suburbia. It's that whole 50s ideal that has morphed into some kind of perverse, miserable experience where no one is fulfilled.
Are we talking about like Pleasant Town or Pleasantville or whatever that was?
Well, so all of these people go to the casino because they're missing something from their day-to-day life, because they are putting on a facade to these people and they are actually happy with their life.
Oh, I know nothing about that.
So it's just the epitome of this whole elaborate scheme that we all put out there to present what we want the world to see, not what we're actually feeling and experiencing. And that just is epitomized by this community, because they're $1,500 for fines for hedges being too long for the guy. That's my nightmare. We're never moving to that kind of...
No, I can't live like that. No. I don't know how to put on a facade. Like, I wear my life on my sleeve. I don't know how to. I would never fit in. Everyone would hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You're supposed to say, no, honey, everyone loves you. But...
Everyone does love you, but I would snap and kill all of my neighbors.
Yeah.
All of them would be murdered in some horrible way.
I know, right, when the town name came up, I put, that's the most pretentious town name for the most pretentious town that I've ever seen. Like, it's just, okay. I mean, we talked about this, but then we didn't talk about it. We talked about this, but didn't talk about it. So we wrote down ethics of doing something illegal for the right reasons. So, like, we talked about it because we talked about, like, how else we would make $50,000 and whatever. But, like, I guess, like, the ethics of them breaking the law in order to help their daughter. And also, murdering a man, cutting a man's hand off or finger off. Like, they were doing it for the right reasons. They were doing it to help their daughter. So does that make it better, or?
I guess it depends on which moral philosophy you're using, whether it's...
What do you mean?
If it's utilitarian, probably not. So utilitarian is the best for everybody, or the best for most people is the right decision.
So, okay, like if you're talking about the train situation, you're talking about if you kill one person to save them all, or do you kill everybody to save the person? Which utilitarian would tell you to do what?
The one person.
Okay.
Because 5 people get to live versus the one person that had to die.
Okay, so then in that situation, they would say that the pool would be the best thing to do for the utilitarian because it helps the most people.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, how much benefit does that really give someone measurably? That's the relative argument there. So I mean, no matter what you do that's illegal, you can't just say I did it for the right reasons. You can't pull the Robin Hood defense and be like, I just stole from rich people to pay for poor people. That you're still going to jail.
Right.
I mean, you are arguably a better person for doing that, but...
So is there any situation in which, and it doesn't have to be about college, but in any situation in which you would break the law for the right reasons, like that you yourself would do that?
I mean, to make sure that my family is provided for, sure. I can 100% see myself breaking the law.
So like you would steal to make sure that they were fed,
like
or
stealing
like something
food
like that.
for my family, or...
Would you ever physically harm anybody?
I don't know. I would like...
On the situation.
It depends on the situation. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
I'm just saying because they cut off hands or fingers and killed people. So like, could you see yourself in a situation where you would end up doing that? Like, I would like to say that I wouldn't, but I can also say that It
depends. If someone is coming to bring harm to my family, yes, I can absolutely see.
Or have brought harm.
Yes, I can absolutely see myself hurting or killing that person. So yeah, it's
tough. It's like, it's ethics. What is morally correct, it doesn't necessarily align with what you would do in a situation.
Well, absolutely, because people have different priorities. And while it's the ethical thing to kill the one person, if that person is your friend, you're killing 5 people.
Well, right. If I'm in a train full of strangers and I'm the director, right, and I'm going down the track and my sister is standing in front of me, and I have a train full of people who are nobody I know, right? I don't know them at all, and I can kill everybody on the train, including myself or my sister. I'm killing everyone on the train. I know I am. Like,
well, it's you get to kill your sister or the 5 people on the other track because you're switching tracks.
Okay, well, I mean,
you're
if I don't know those 5 people, I'm killing them.
Yeah,
like that's what's going to happen. Now, if there's 1 or 5 of randos, I'm killing the 1.
What if that one person is Mother Teresa and the 5 people are convicts? And
I mean, to me, that doesn't matter. To me, I would still kill the 1.
That just...
Because
some people
convict doesn't make
some
a bad
people
person.
have inherently lesser of a view of people that have
and some people are bad people. So I mean that a convict is not a bad person make. And Mother Teresa does not necessarily just mean she's completely pure. Just because
I
she did
just
great
picked
things.
the first person I can think of.
Right, but in that situation, no, I would kill the 1. But when it comes to personal attachments, that's when it gets shady for me. So I don't know. Now, when it comes to like physically harming somebody to get money, I don't think I would ever do that. Like, I know they were doing that in this movie to like be funny and look like it was like the mafia and like all of that kind of stuff.
I mean, if my family owed money to some bad people and that was the only way to get money and they were going to be hurt and or killed, I can see myself being rather pushy.
Mm-hmm. I just got a epic rap battle song in my head, so we're just gonna not say that.
Move on.
Okay. So one of the questions we had written down is there a villain or protagonist in this film? We had talked about this in a previous movie. I think it was the last one we did, which was Contact, and we were trying to figure out if Dr. What is his name?
Drummond or whatever it was, or
it starts with an H. I don't even know. The overemphasized godlike character. We were trying to figure out if he was the villain of the film.
Right.
So in this movie, it's kind of hard to say, like, if there is a villain and or protagonist. The first people that come to mind for me would be the protagonist would be the mother or the daughter, either way, and then the villain would be Jeremy Renner because he's the mob boss who comes in and tries to F everything up.
I would say the main villain is the town councilman that steals all the people's money and starts this whole process by taking her scholarship for his illicit affair with the treasurer.
I mean, that's fair too.
So he's definitely the villain. And then
he's a crap person, that's for sure.
Oh no, if he's on the trolley, I'm definitely killing him. But no, it's him and then Jeremy Renner, but there's not a whole lot of
good people?
Good people? I mean, no, like they're doing a bad thing for the right reasons, but that doesn't make them the protagonists. It makes them.
I mean, what about the best friend?
It makes them all the main characters, but it doesn't make them.
What about the best friend though? While yes, he's gambling and whatever, but he's doing it pretty selflessly. He's doing it for his friends. I mean, he is doing it because he needs. He's doing it so
that he needs to not foreclose on his house to win his wife back. So
but
he's not doing it for his friends. He's doing it for himself, and they're splitting everything 50-50.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I
mean, the parents are doing it for their daughter. They're not doing it for themselves. So, but they kind of go a little dark there. So I don't know if we can call them a protagonist.
Yeah, they just start beating up their friends in the community because
the butcher and the. What did she call her? The burn. It was something to do with flames because she used a flame.
Yeah, she was the burner.
Was the burner?
Yeah. How do you like the marshmallows?
Ew. Oh, just no. What would your weapon be of choice if you were a funny mob person, not like actual like
funny mob person?
Well, because they were being humorous about it, right? Like the butcher and the burner wasn't real.
I mean,
if you were in a comedy movie and your character was a mob character, what would your weapon of choice be?
I honestly don't know. You're springing this on me out of the blue.
I don't know.
What would yours be, Smarty?
I don't know. I was thinking like a corkscrew or something.
The wino?
I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of.
I mean,
you just gotta grind it in there, pull their heart out.
I mean, ice pick, but that's already been taken by one of the most terrifying individuals ever.
Yeah, that's actually like real, like legitimately.
Yeah, I don't have
no good answer there.
I mean, yes, for everyone listening, Richard the Iceman Kuklinski, terrifying person. Thank God he's dead. Just nope, all the no.
Okay, so the last thing I had for this film is we were talking about the villain, town man, whatever.
Right.
So they have an affair, and it's not like a big thing. They don't really talk about it that much. But what did you think of the ending of the movie with the woman walking off with her husband, and he was like looking at her necklace, and he's like, "Did I buy that for you?" And she's like, "Yeah, you did." Like,
I'm oblivious. I'm gonna know that I didn't buy that piece of jewelry.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the movie ends with that, and then also with burning down the house and insurance fraud and whatever, and you just kind of look at it and you're just like, wow, every single person in this movie is a bad person. The woman had an affair and she's going back to her husband, not going to say anything at all, and you're supposed to look at it like she got away from the bad guy, but like, nah, she's crap too. The guy that was embezzling, I'm assuming, is going to jail. They're burning down the house and getting insurance money for it. The parents got the money for school, but they stole it back from the other guy. And yeah, I know, like, stealing it back is supposed to be like the good thing, whatever, but like, it's also illegal funds. It's
illegal funds that they had no right to seize in the first place because it was an illegal search and they had no business being allowed in the house. They had no probable cause.
Fair, but there are processes to get these things back. You would have to appeal in court and all that kind of stuff. You can't just break into a place and steal out of a safe. You can't do that. So they're all crap people. So like, I felt like at the end of the movie, I was just kind of like, I'm not rooting for a single soul in this movie. And that one part of it kind of like depressed me a little. Like, it was funny, I laughed and whatever, but I'm like, I can't like anyone. Like, I'm not being like, yeah, love that story arc. Like, were you?
I mean, no. It's just you're not meant to analyze it that much. You're just meant to be like, it worked out.
I mean, I analyze everything in my life.
Kids going to college. That's what matters. And yay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. That's all I have. So, do you have a history minute?
Tyler's History Minute.
So it's going to be a sparse history minute.
Well, I mean, it was a sparse movie.
Yeah. So, as everyone knows, the mob has very deep connections to illegal activity.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
shockers
Okay.
there.
I
Didn't
I'm already learning so much.
So it started back in the 20s with the prohibition and the bootlegging. That tied into the speakeasies and the underground casinos and cat houses and all of that the mob controlled and took a piece of the revenue. They actually used casinos, legal casinos, for money laundering.
Oh.
Because it's very difficult to explain where you got all this money. Like, you can't just say, here's a duffel bag full of cash. Put it in my bank account.
That's suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would go and put it into the casino, and it would be returned as casino winnings. Because they actually have a very deep and storied past in the creation of Las Vegas casinos.
Okay.
So the mob was very involved in Las Vegas.
Because they needed a way to bury their money?
They needed a way to get it out so it looked legitimate, yes.
Okay, so how were they involved?
So they, as soon as gambling was legalized, they were on the ground and they were controlling all of the unions that were part of construction of all of the new casinos and the development of Las Vegas. And they started opening casinos and laundering their illicit proceeds.
I wonder if any of the casinos in Rhode Island has anything to do with the mob.
Probably.
I would just wager.
And then the reason you have to go to such lengths is there are regulatory requirements in the United States. One of them is the Banking Security Act of 1970,
Okay.
which requires that a financial report is given to the federal government anytime something is paid for with $10,000 of cash or more.
Oh.
So you see a lot of people that are trying to launder money doing just below $10,000. And that is called structuring.
Okay.
So you're structuring it so you make multiple deposits at different institutions below the legal threshold in an effort to avoid being detected.
And now how, like, is there a certain amount of time? Like, if I deposited $9,500 today, how long before I can deposit more that you're not going to flag me?
So I actually don't know.
But there must be, like, right? There must be, like,
I believe
a time
there
frame.
is.
Probably, like, 30 days or 60 days or something like that. So you would have to, like, stagger everything and do it at different institutions, and it would be a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to go to, like, 6 different banks.
And probably, even if I tried to transfer them all to the same bank so I could, like, make one check out, it would probably still flag me, right?
I mean, I don't want to advocate or explain really how to commit money laundering.
But I'm sure that there's a lot of legal requirements that make it very difficult to...
There are. I mean, there's also a lot of legal requirements in related to the market as well for that same reason.
I wonder, though, like, if you won the lottery, like, so obviously, like, all of a sudden I win $1 million, right? Is there paperwork that goes through that allows you to, like, move that money around? Because I'm obviously not going to want to keep it all in one spot.
This is related to cash only. So
okay.
with larger transactions, you could do a wire transfer, which there are records for that.
Okay.
And there are other methods to transfer large sums of money back and forth, especially if there's a legitimate source or reason behind having the money.
Okay.
So if you win the lottery, you've won the lottery, and that's
legitimate.
Legitimate.
So it's real. So it's just like, you don't want somebody to just, like, come up to you off the street and be like, hey, do you want $1 million? Like, no, I don't. I don't want that in cash. Thank you. I don't.
I mean, I will still take $1 million in cash.
But I'll just be, like, using it for groceries and gas and, like,
you're using it as a lifetime of bills. You're making deposits on a regular basis in your bank in cash, but
I'll pay my mortgage, just put $1,000 in, whatever my amount is, and just do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And hope that I never get broken into, basically.
Oh, you're buying a safe with the first
a fireproof safe.
Oh yeah. No, you're building a very nice safe in your basement.
Okay. Anything else for your history in it?
So I think that's actually it.
Wow. That's sparse. But okay. So we don't really have audience ask.
Audience asks.
But we did get this movie recommended to us by our friend Bite on the Discord. And I think you talked to him a little bit and had at least something from him.
I did. So once we got back on the same page, because we were talking about other things, so he said, one thing that struck me about the house is that he doesn't go for dark comedies.
Okay.
Somehow he enjoyed this one, and he would compare it to Nurse Betty, which I've never seen.
I'm going to put that on the list, I guess.
I
Thank
think
you
we might
for
have to.
more movies, Bite.
I don't know if I would necessarily classify this as a dark comedy.
Yeah, so I when you mentioned this to me, I've been trying to go through my head, and the funny thing is, I feel like as a humor, I enjoy dark humor, but I don't know that I've seen a lot of dark comedies. The first movie that comes to mind as a dark comedy that I have not seen, but everyone talks about, is Donnie Darko.
I don't know if that's a comedy. I mean...
Oh, people always talk about it as, like, really, really funny when I was growing up. But the first dark comedy that I think we've seen would be...
Death of Stalin?
Death of Stalin, yes. That was probably the darkest comedy I've ever seen.
I mean, Shaun of the Dead is a...
But is that a dark comedy?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to Google exactly what a dark comedy is, because I kind of struggle with...
To be fair, there's a lot of blood in this movie. It's more blood than a Quentin Tarantino film, for God's sakes, with the finger and a couple other scenes.
So, according to Google, black comedy, also known as black humor, dark comedy, morbid humor, or gallows humor, is a style of comedy that makes light of subject matter that is generally considered taboo, particularly subjects that are normally considered serious or painful to discuss.
Okay.
So, I mean, Death of Stalin for sure, right? I mean, obviously that's a dark comedy.
Right. I mean, that's very dark.
Painful to discuss, taboo, all of those things checked off, right?
Yeah.
But so, for this movie... I guess it's taboo to do illegal things, and I guess it would be taboo to, cut someone's hand off or murder.
Or light someone on fire with vodka.
Right, but the way it's handled is different. Like, in Death of Stalin, it's like you're cringing because it's like this stuff, happened, and, this is,
They're talking about horrible atrocities.
Right, people
casual.
died. This is
people were black bagged, never seen again.
Right. That's dark, right? That's dark. This is more it's so funny because it's the way they do it is so out of the realm. It's the way the blood splatters. That's not how blood splatters. You don't look at that and think oh, that's gruesome. You're no, that's ridiculous.
So I would compare that kind of to some of the scenes in Dumb and Dumber. Where the guy kills their pet bird and then they sell the pet bird to a poor blind kid.
Aww.
Or they kill the guy because...
I hated Dumb and Dumber.
They kill the guy because they put all the spicy food on it and he had a peptic ulcer, he died.
Right, but it's not dark humor?
Somebody's died, but I don't consider that as a dark...
Well, I kind of don't... I guess because it's not realistic to me, that it loses that edge.
I think it's just different because I don't consider that dark because we were all raised on those cartoons where Wile E. Coyote died horribly, falling off cliffs.
Or the anvil was dropped on their head, yeah.
So I don't consider that dark. I would consider dark talking about a taboo subject like death and then just making light of horrible things.
Yeah, there's movies out there that are talking about cancer and making jokes of that. That's dark, things like that. I feel like things that are realistic that I can
and just poignant and
visceral. Yeah, those to me are dark, but I didn't find this dark. I felt like it was too exaggerated to be dark.
I think that's fair.
But
I think we're looking into this farther than is really necessary.
Don't we always?
We really do.
Yeah. So, that's all we have because nobody else asked us questions because I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie. I will say that if you are looking for just a movie to laugh at and just have fun, I definitely recommend
a movie where you don't have to think about anything and just relax, and you could even watch it in the background. You don't have to pay attention.
And it was on Amazon Prime. Is that where we found it?
Yeah, for $3-4 bucks.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something like that, we all need to laugh right now. It's y'all need it. So ratings and reviews.
So the reviews.
Reviews.
not kind.
Dun,
So-
dun, dun.
The critic score is 20%.
Oh, my goodness.
The audience score is 35.
Okay.
Sorry,
Guys.
Bite. Not a very popular movie, and you are in the minority on this movie.
Okay. But, I mean, okay. So why do we think that is?
I honestly don't know. I think...
I mean, the critics are going to say there's no substance. That's that. I mean, the critics are looking for cinematography, and they're looking for like this really deep like plot and storyline.
I think it also falls behind a lot of. I think for the audience at least, it's a critique on the success of Will Ferrell movies in general.
Well, that's not fair.
People love his movies and they find him very funny.
Uh-huh.
So, Ron Burgundy, Talladega Nights, Old School, Elf, but he has a portfolio of comedic roles that people meme to hell. I mean, 60% of the time it works all the time.
I mean, that's not fair, though.
So I think that they just were let down by this movie because it doesn't live up to that same kind of level. It's not quite in
it's
that.
not Anchorman. I got it. So what would you give it?
I would give it a 4.5, 5.
Wow.
5.
You're mean.
Solid 5.
Wow, I'm sorry, Bite. He's mean. Rough. In any reason?
I mean, just no substance there. I mean, it was fine. There are other better, funnier movies that I would have rather watched.
Okay. I was going to give it a 7. So I like fluff movies sometimes. I don't like slapstick comedy, and this was a little bit better than slapstick comedy for me. I thought it was a cute movie. I like Amy Poehler. I loved The Best Friend. I think he's hilarious. I don't know. I thought it was a nice movie. I needed a happy movie. I need a break sometimes.
And we are going to get you to watch both Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Parks and Rec. I swear to God.
Yeah, sometimes I need happy things, and this did that for me. So
yeah. I
was happy to have that. So I didn't give it more than a 7 because there's nothing there, right? There's no, so that's what it is. But that's all I got. So got anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's everything. What's our next movie? It's your choice.
Okay, we haven't done a current movie in a while, so I have been searching. And I did find one. It is streaming. It looks like it's on Amazon Prime. It's called The Devil Down Below. Okay. It looks like a horror movie. I really don't know, guys. It might be horrible. I don't know. The options for current movies are limited. So I'm hoping that after this movie, Tyler's going to pick something that is more popular and just has substance to it in case this next movie is another flop.
Wow, that's a lot to put on my shoulders.
Yes. So if you guys have suggestions for him of what you want him to pick, you can bug him with that. But
yeah, you can. I don't think I'll listen, but you can try.
Yeah, but yes, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. So make sure you come back at the very least to find out what he finally decides. But this does look like a halfway decent movie. It doesn't look horrible.
I mean, based off the trailer, it looks a lot like The Descent, which I very much enjoyed. But we will see.
Yeah, we will see. So that is all I have. So if you guys want to tweet at us, I am at CinematicallyC. Tyler is Blame Tyler CC. You will have to tag me to get him. Please send us audience asks. I know this is a new movie and not a lot of people have seen it, but watch a trailer and come up with something, or just
watch the movie. It's a few minutes out of your day. It's a few hours.
I would love it if somebody watched the movie and tweeted at me. That would make me so happy. Right. So if you do that, you can also email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. We are on every social media platform. But please do that because I don't want to have another episode without real audience asks. That makes me feel bad.
Wow. Way to downplay Bite.
No, I love him and I love that he did that for us, but I wish that we had more. We always have 2 every episode and we didn't. And that just, it's a bummer.
We don't always have 2. Our fans do very often let us down. And I hold a very select few of them personally responsible. I'm talking to you, Ryan Terry. I'm talking to you, Krista. I'm talking...
Calling them out. Wow.
Calling out Stork. I'm calling out... He's throwing
out the names of the people he likes. So if you're being called out, he enjoys
Matt Lewinsky, don't like you, but I'm still holding you accountable more than anyone else. And I blame you for all the problems in the world.
Nice. These are terms of endearment from Tyler, if you do not know. So,
not for the last person. No.
Okay. And so anyways, please do reach out to us. We appreciate that, and it gives us something to talk about on the episodes, especially when we have a lot of fluff that we have to talk about. Yeah. So that is it. We will be back really soon with a new episode. So thank you to Jake and Out This Music for our intro and outro music, and we'll be back next week with The Devil Down Below.
Thank you all for listening.